And I'm live, I believe. I'm live early. You didn't expect this. I like to keep everyone on their toes because I just wanted to. I don't know. I was ready. Said fuck it. I could have waited for a couple minutes. Can't hear myself yet. Did it work? Probably. Thought it'd be cool.
Live, I believe. I'm live early.
There we hear.
Expect this.
Anyway, I just thought, let's do this early. Fuck it. Let's do it. I don't know. You know, I just thought, fuck it. I don't really have a good reason, but yeah, I was just like, let's start early. Let's, we just say a bunch of funny things. You could rewind it or something. I don't know. Anyway, look at this shit. It's a fade. I learned there was another button here. Movie crap is gonna be crazy. Crazy. Anyway, hello and welcome to Movie Crap Live. Thank you very much for being here on a Saturday night with me, Jim. I very much appreciate y'all being here. It's really nice. It's really nice to spend Friday nights with you guys. Saturday nights. Let me drink some water. But anyway, thank you all very much for being here. I know it's been, wow, there's no easy way to say it. It's been a crazy week, and I think it's been a crazy week for everybody. Oh, hey, I just wanted to get Kevin James in early, blocks the Oxymonkle. Thank you. I only have real Red Bulls this time, so thank you. Cheers to you, blocks the Oxymonkle. So anyway, thank you for liking the shirt. It's Target from their Pride Month selection, so I'm woke. But what I wanted to say, yeah, it's been a crazy week. I think it's been a crazy week for everyone. All the protests that have been going on, literally like right on my block. There was literally like cops beating up protesters one night, literally on my block. I didn't see it. I heard about it later and saw a video of it. But it's been a little crazy. So I want to thank everyone for being here. I think that's really nice for you. Oh, and a special thank you to Nathaniel Folga with his, I had my virtual graduation today. Happy graduation. Congratulations on graduating. Cheers to you, sir. But yes, I'm very much aware there's lots of stuff going on. And I'm sure you guys are too. So I want to thank you very much for being here. I don't know how much stuff we'll really have to cover because there isn't stuff, there isn't a lot of movie news, but we're going to talk about that, obviously. And we'll just go from there and just try to have a fun show. I encourage you to try to go to a protest around you. We have a curfew here in New York. If you have a curfew, don't do that. Just be careful. I actually, like I've said, I do know people who do protests and protest a lot, and Buster has just surprised me. I got accepted into my capstone. I'm making a podcast. All right, Austin. I want to send me that when you have the podcast ready. Send it to me. Cheers to you, Austin. Cheers to you. Oh, that was a hard hit of the Red Bull. But if you are, where was I? But yeah, just try to do it, but try to just be a little off to the side. In the center of everything is where more bad shit happens. But you can still support. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think you should. I didn't get to do the thing where everyone's like, I agreed to be on. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. That was a little bit ago you asked me. But I will be on. Let me know. Singing La 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 Jim's World. La 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 La. Or was that... How's Bobby's World go? Anyway. Cheers to you, Ryan. Cheers to you. Buster is right over there. But, just be safe. I encourage you, if you can, give money to Black Lives Matter, which my wife and I have. Same with the Breonna Taylor, I think it was a GoFundMe, and other stuff. So if you are financially able to do so, much like on this, be very appreciated. Hey, Saber's here. But anyway, yeah. I also want to, there's a lot of people talking about, like, hey, what should I watch? I want to educate myself more. I would recommend 3 Spike Lee movies. I've noticed everyone's saying Do the Right Thing, as have I. You should definitely see that. Malcolm X is another one. And Bamboozled, I think, is one people forget about quite a bit. Other ones, like The Spook Who Sat by the Door, is really great. Coffee, Pam Grier's film. It's not her film, but she stars in. Buster's, like, hanging out right here. Buster, do you want to be on? Anyway, there's lots of films you could watch. I don't know if I can cover all of them. But I also watched a really good documentary series called Trial by Media, but I'll talk about that a little later. Oh, cool. Saber's here. Anyways, shut up, Saber. Aw, don't fight. Mommy and Daddy, don't fight. All right. Buster. No? Okay. He doesn't want to be on. Forget it. He just wants to, he's literally hanging out on the other side of the camera. I sort of don't want to move the camera. Should I move the camera? I don't know. Oh, Elmo's World. La la da 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 da. Jim's World. That I knew. I can't remember all the world songs, Ryan, but thank you. Thank you, by the way, to Ryan Walterson, sending me a lot of stuff, making sure I knew about the CNN special, and all that stuff. 13th and When They See Us are very good ones as well. Anyway, before we get into it, let me say 2 things. There's the Discord. I see people are already like, Jim, mention the Discord. Don't worry. And I'm going to mention it for a couple reasons. One, if you notice on Twitter, I posted the 2 shorts that I'm reviewing today. If I'm reviewing a short and I can post a link, obviously I do shorts and the availability of them and my ability to share them with you is limited. But I'm going to start doing that on Twitter. I'm going to do that the night before on Discord. Sorry. So that will that's one reason to join. Another reason to join is the Ask Jim channel, which is great. If you ask me a question, I will answer it. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, but I always answer all of them. And if I miss one, people call me out, and then I answer them. So, and don't feel bad about calling me out. It's nothing personal. It's just sometimes there's a lot of them. And in fact, I will do that tonight before I go to bed. And as well, if you join the Discord, if you're a member of the Discord and you message me on Discord, your address, I will send you a bunch of Jim stickers. I'm not obviously going to any conventions this year where I can give you stickers. Even though I went to MomoCon, that was wonderful and great. However, I have a box full of stickers and I have nothing to do with them. Do not post your address in this. However, if you message me on Discord after you've joined the Discord server, I will gladly mail you some stickers because I need somebody. I want the fans to have them. They're just sitting in a box in my closet. So just hit me up, let me know. But please join the Discord. It's a great thing to do. Or if you're part of the Patreon, you can always ask me for stickers in general as well. If you didn't know that, I think I've said that a bunch of times, but yeah. As well as my stuff is pretty much 100%. Oh, can you sing the Countries of the World song? No, I can't. But I will. Thank you for the super chat. Anyway, cheers to you, Black Sea Axel. I don't know, Black Sea Axel. Did you think that Kevin James video would ever come out? Because I would. Anyway, it did. Thankfully, I'm happy that came out. Anyway, my stuff is pretty much completely supported by you, the fans, either through my Patreon, where I have Patreon exclusive videos at least once a week. I did my movie review vote winners video, as well as I'm doing my commentary series where I go through old knock forces and Cleese the Feast and all those stuff, as well as director's cuts and everything like that. As well as super chats during the show. So if you would like to support me and support what I do and let me to continue to make videos, those are great ways to do it, and you get cool content from that, and you get me to drink a Red Bull and say stupid things on here. But thank you very much for your support if you're financially able to do so. I also understand people are giving money to a lot of great causes this week, and if you'd much rather do that, I fully support you in doing so. Just, yeah. But I appreciate it as well if you're additionally able to do that. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, the only reason I did, I also try to, also on the Discord, another Discord thing, is if I'm doing something with programming, like I do this review and not that one, I sort of hit up the general thing and say, hey, this is why I did this. Like Kevin James, I only really did that because that day I was going to do it eventually, because I didn't really feel up to making a full review after that whole week. And also why I didn't do Bring Me the Head of Charlie Brown this week, because it just didn't feel the most appropriate to put out a violent thing like that this week. So it will come out eventually as a segment. And yeah, did you get Sophie ice cream and watch? Did you get ice cream and watch a movie with Sophie? You know what? I should just give you guys updates on that. I'm sorry I forgot about that. Well, cheers to you, Austin. Cheers. We watched. Well, okay, so true story. Because she was getting, she went. So her friends had a birthday party where they. It's called a drive-by birthday party. In quarantine, you drive up, you kind of exchange gifts at a social distance, and she got cupcakes. So we felt like cupcakes and ice cream for a 3-year-old is not something that sounded like a good idea. So she did that, but then we actually, so we didn't get ice cream this week, but we got pizza, and the whole family all watched The Muppets, the 2011 film, I believe. And we watched that, and that was a lot of fun. I actually gave her a choice. I showed her the trailer of the Muppet movie and the Muppets, and she picked the Muppets. I think she has seen the Muppet movie when she was little, but she didn't really focus on it as much. I think my wife and I wanted to watch the Muppet movie, but we were like, well, at least we can get her into a Muppet film, and since Treasure Island worked well, so she's seen 2 Muppet movies, although she's also seen Follow That Bird, obviously, because she's in that review, and Elmo's Great Adventure and all of that. I also have noticed with the Kevin James thing, I noticed his YouTube channel, like, I thought, oh, there's probably like a ton of videos he's made since I made that segment, because it was like half a month ago. He's actually inactive. So clearly my jab at him when I said that Pan Pizza and Saber Sparks have more followers, subscribers than him, hit him deep. And he's just reeling in his mansion somewhere. I actually don't know what happened, but I'm a little disappointed about that he's not making any more stuff. I did notice, Ryan. I will say this about the the 2011 Muppet movie. It's weird that they don't have the Muppet Show on Disney Plus, because that movie is such an advertisement for the Muppet Show that I wanted to watch the Muppet Show after we watched that movie on Disney Plus and show it to Sophie, but I couldn't because they don't do that on Disney Plus. So anyway, it sort of sucks that way. I wanted to move my mic a little. All right, so I think I would like to show her more of the Muppet films, but anyway, I think I'm going to do... I'm not sure what I'm going to do next week, but we got her to watch a Muppet thing. We had pizza as a family. I think we all just need to eat some pizza and watch a Muppet movie. You know what I'm saying? Where is my phone? Oh, Buster, you're sitting on my phone. I just wanted to check that Kevin James didn't call me. Anyway, all right. Let's get into it. So, yes. I know it's the damn music rights and it's bullshit, but Disney has the money. You know what I mean, Ryan? They have the money. I did know about that tooth fairy fact. All right. So, HBO Max. Now we're getting into it. HBO Max launched last week. I think I told you a number that 50% of streaming places that people watch streaming couldn't play HBO Max. And that is true, but it's actually worse. It's 2/3. So 2/3, literally 2/3 of people who watch streaming in general, seriously, can't watch HBO Max. Because most people watch it on their TV, not their computer, and so 2/3 of people who watch streaming, which is clearly through Roku and Fire Stick, can't do that. And additionally, they don't have, if you didn't know this, I don't have Amazon Fire Stick, so I don't know it as well, but I know with Roku, they have a screensaver that's just like ads, and they're usually like pretty targeted on, you know, them listening to your thoughts and stuff like that. And so, I mean, I don't know about, but it's mainly your viewing habits. And apparently they are not too keen to pay for those, which Disney does a lot. a lot. Or Scoob did. Like, I think those were all the ads on my Roku screensaver that weekend. So, because that's what you came here. I should just do a report on crap I saw on my Roku screensaver. But it's really interesting how badly they screwed this up. Because they actually won't even release the amount. This is a fun statistic, and this relates to a later story. I'm not going to talk about the theater opening and closing right now. But they said they won't release Tenet unless 80% of the world's theaters are open. But which is Warner Brothers, who, you know, also does HBO Max. But they literally did that. with HBO Max in that 75%, or I think it's like 70% of places that you can enjoy streaming don't have HBO Max or any access to it. So I would say this is a massive, massive failure on HBO and AT&T's fault. I just find it to be just like utterly ridiculous that they thought that this was like any sort of a good idea, but they did. So anyway, there's a customer data dispute with Amazon Fire as well, because Amazon won't share the customer data, which they need to know like what to play and so forth, and so they can't like accurately tell what the viewing numbers is that they don't release to us anyway. And Roku, it's mainly about the ad spend. So these are things that you do when you set up a streaming service, by the way. Like Disney Plus did it. Like there were Frozen 2 ads on my Roku that weekend. So the surprise launch of Frozen 2 wasn't set up well. I have heard AT&T and Warner Media are not being run very well, and they don't really know what they're doing. And I'd heard that before, but I can definitely tell it now. Anyway, moving on. There's a new Ghibli film from Miyazaki, Goro Miyazaki. Right? You're excited. Anyway, so he has a movie. It is called, depending on your translation, some said Aya and the Witch, but other places are saying Earwig and the Witch. It'll air in the winter on NHK, which I don't know what it stands for, but is a TV channel in Japan. There's no news if it is coming to HBO Max, but as we just said, does that even matter? Because we'll probably all torrent the fuck out of it. But Goro is working on a new film, which is interesting. It was based on a fantasy novel. But I'm surprised because Goro was treated so poorly, particularly by the Japanese press and his father. And it seems like, in general, people aren't nice to him. So I've always felt bad for Goro. But he does have another film coming out under sort of the Ghibli. Is Ghibli around or not? I'm confused. I follow these things. I don't even fucking know. But like, apparently he has a thing and it's coming out. So we're getting a new Goro, a new Ghibli thing. Hayao Miyazaki's film will come out, after the revolution comes, I'm assuming, and then it'll take another 3 years. Okay, after that, see, this is an interesting movie to think. There is a Rocky documentary about the entire legacy of the Rocky films. They're going to release it sort of digitally, I guess. It is going to come out on June 9th, which is coming up. It sounds kind of interesting, although I'm definitely watching the We Bare Bears movie before I watch the Rocky documentary, and it does sound like something I'd probably just watch on a streaming service, but they're trying to go on demand anyway. Good for them. So, the author of Watership Down, or the author's estate, Richard Adams, has won back the movie and TV rights from the director and producer of the animated film, Martin Rosen. Now, Martin Rosen has for a long time basically been controlling the TV and movie rights of Watership Down. And there's kind of been a dispute when he approved that Netflix thing and that he wasn't paying the estate properly. And the estate has now won back those rights. So this guy who was kind of just controlling the film and TV legacy of Watership Down, who made the animated film that people generally like. Wait, what? Did the We Bare Bears movie really get delayed? Oh, god damn it. Is that real? Why didn't no one tell me that? Was that in the Discord and I didn't see it? That sucks. That was my plans with Sophie. We're going to watch that. That threw me off. A guy named Crystal. Now I got to look this up. Jordan Bouchard just says yes. I'm assuming that's right. Damn it. Ugh. Yeah, but that's like... It was... I really wanted that this week, man. Anyway. Alright. I didn't know that. When did that happen? What? Let me look this up. Hold on. This is called Dad Looks Up Things on Google. We Bare Bears news. Hold on. Delayed? See, it's all telling me there is a movie. I don't... man, that so stinks. I was like, really, it was announced yesterday. How did I miss this? I don't understand how I missed that. And I was like going through stuff. That sucks. Wait, this is from... Anyway, I'm just going to trust everyone. Sorry, I like to find a... That bums me out. I was like, going to watch that with Sophie on Tuesday? That sucks. That ruins my Tuesday. Anyway, god damn it. Thanks a lot, Bears. I was getting hyped all week for that shit. God damn it. Alright. Anyway. It was on Cartoon Network's Twitter page. Okay. Oh, okay. People are linking me. I will let this go now. That so stinks. Alright, well, that would have been cool. I know, I see it. Alright, anyway, back to... That sucks. I was like, this week's not going to be so bad. Sophie and I are going to watch this We Bare Bears movie and have popsicles. And now it's like, what's the point? Alright. That sucks. Anyway, I don't know how I missed that. They stack. I know, that was so funny. I was excited. Anyway, so... Watership Down is now back to the estate. The rights of Watership Down are back to the estate. It seems like he was sort of like not doing what the estate wanted, and he was sort of using the rights beyond what he should have. And it's like, I understand that movie's a big deal, stuff like that, but to me it's like, I think a different right holder probably means we're getting a different adaptation. That's usually what happens, or at least one's going to get developed. So I would expect a new Watership Down version, but I think it'd be interesting without Martin Rosen. So, all right. So let's get into what Nickelodeon did this week. I'm not exactly sure which day it was. I think it was June 1st was, Tuesday. So on that day, Nickelodeon stopped for 8 minutes and 48 seconds and played the following crawl. Now, Austin, we have to bear down for midterms. Cheers to you, Austin. Sorry I got so bummed about We Bare Bears. I was just excited. That's all. I'm not the biggest We Bare Bears fan. Just anyway, I guess it makes sense. It's not like anyway. So on June 1st, Nickelodeon stopped programming and stopped pretty much right after a Loud House episode, if YouTube's to be believed, for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. If you were unaware, that's a helicopter. We're just going to work through it. They went off. The 8 minutes and 46 seconds is basically a protest thing that's been going on, because that's the amount of time that the police officer had his leg over George Floyd's his neck. I had it written down so I can. But, unfortunately, yes. I don't know why I'm... Anyway. Yes, that's the amount of time... Stop it, phone. I feel like I'm a little weird today, but I guess we're all... But anyway, so they had the scroll going for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, which was the amount of time that the police officer had his leg over George Floyd's neck. They don't mention him exactly, and the scroll that played is pretty much what they played the whole thing on Twitter. I'll read it for you now, I guess. Nickelodeon is going off the air for 8 minutes and 46 seconds in support of justice, equality, and human rights. They do not mention George Floyd. Nickelodeon Declaration of Kids' Rights. We have the right to be seen, heard, and respected as a citizen of the world. You have the right to a world that is peaceful. You have the right to be treated with equality regardless of the color of your skin. You have the right to be protected from harm, injustice, and hatred. You have the right to an education that prepares you to run the world. You have the right to your opinions and feelings, even if others don't agree with them. A lot of people got upset, and their parents yelling that they had to explain this to their kids. First off, you should, to a certain extent, you should explain this to your kids. There's a lot going on right now. I'll get into that more with the CNN thing, but I will say, I think, although when we mistakenly had CNN on and it was playing the George Floyd footage, I did Sophie's eyes from it, didn't cover them. I just said, hey, look over here and stuff like that. Obviously, a 3-year-old shouldn't see that. But at the same time, you should sort of explain to kids what's going on. And it sort of really pissed me off that I saw so many parents who did not want to educate their kids. And this is not mentioning George Floyd, but is bringing up points that you should bring up with your kids that are not confrontational or scary or anything like that. So, I just found it a disappointment, the amount of people who were upset about it. I think I said something on Twitter on the day that it happened, but it's just annoying. Like, the parents get so bent out of shape about stuff like this. Like, they're not wanting to explain with their kids, but and it's 8 minutes. Also, I have other questions about the parents who got upset, because clearly they're fucking dumb, because you just play like a streaming service for your kids and then you just like play forever and stuff. I understand like you're trying to work from home and teach your kids and stuff, but why are you playing like Nickelodeon? Like, I don't know any kids who watch like terrestrial TV anymore. So like the fact that, first off, you're already stupid and you don't know how technology works, and you don't know how to teach your kids. So I guess like there's already a whole level of stupid if you're getting upset and posting this on social media anyway that I clearly don't understand. But you should take that time to explain to your kids. And it's like 8 minutes. Like, they could go to the bathroom for too long or something. Like, if it really upset you so much. But I think there was a point to bring up to your kids about inequality and the problems with the world and what's going on right now, and you don't have to go into the necessary extremes. You can sort of have that talk with them, and maybe something that they will remember in 20 years that will very much shape them as people. But instead, you got mad at Nickelodeon for doing that, so fuck you. Anyway, it upsets me to no end that parents were getting upset about that. Anyway, moving on. Movie theaters, will they open? Maybe we'll see. Anyway, so basically there was kind of some things about Cinemark saying that they will try to they'll be reopening on June 19th and have all theaters open on July 10th. It seems like July 10th is sort of the date they want a majority of theaters open to be ready a week later for Tenet, which seems to be what everyone's hitting. Cinemark did say they won't require face masks they won't require people who come into the theater to wear face masks. I actually want to phrase this correctly. Sorry, I just burped and all that. I want to phrase this correctly because so many people are kind of changing this in weird ways. So basically, all employees in Cinemark will be required to wear face masks during this time. However, if you live in a state that does not require you to come into a business wearing a face mask, Cinemark is not going to require you to do that, which I don't know how legally much they can, to be honest with you, but people are saying like they're being irresponsible and things like that. I do think that's a little irresponsible. I think they could just say heavily suggested. It seems like they're kind of avoiding it, but they're the only ones who've really said much about the face mask thing. It seems like most theater chains, Regal last week said they're aiming for July. We're seeing more of the July 17th date become a reality at this time. However, what we've learned is that NATO, the national organization, the National Association of Theater Owners, which is a terrible name, and they should come up with a new one, because you have to explain it's not the NATO that does like NATO things for world and stuff. I'm a social studies teacher, clearly. They do movie theater stuff, but whatever. So they are they're hoping to have 90% of theaters open, at least in America, by that time. I'm not so sure about that, particularly what we said about San Francisco, so that would lead me to believe that they've factored in that San Francisco will not be open until August, movie theater-wise. We'll see about other places, and also I think movie theaters are phase 3, and phase 3 it's sort of doable. I have noticed there's this thing like, hey, you guys are all protesting, wouldn't you like to buy stuff, though? What if you came out and bought stuff? Because capitalism, right? I mean, you like hating police. What if you like buying cheeseburgers again? And that seems to be capitalists. Like, I've noticed so quickly, they're like, people are going outside. I mean, I think we could open. Am I taking the wrong thing from these things? I think we could open. Who's George Floyd? Is that your friend? I don't know. So they're just like not listening to any of the cultural movement. They're just going like, people are outside. I mean, I don't know. I think we could buy things right now. So clearly, there's also other bigger issues that they sort of do need to figure out because the government, at least in America, in terms of unemployment, people are making a certain amount that they will not be making anymore post the end of July. So when that hits, things are going to get real bad unless they let people go back to work or they let that go on further. I think it might be to go on further, but that's what's going on there. I don't actually think Tenet will make its date, and I wonder if Tenet will even be good enough to be the movie that brings everybody back. I know Christopher Nolan, I've heard some reports that say like he actually knows the theater owners are hurting right now and wants to help, and it's less about his own ego. Some people are saying it is about his own ego, but we'll see. We have a fun fact from Nichikichu. Nice to be here. I'm almost surprised by Nichikichu. Fun fact, in comics, the Avengers and Fantastic Four have weekly poker tournaments and don't invite Spider-Man since they think he will use spider sense to cheat. That's good. That's good. Cheers to you, Nichikichu. I needed that tonight. But we'll see what's going to happen. The other movie theater things is AMC says they are worried about their company. They've lost about $2 billion since this has happened. They are saying it is very likely that they will, that things could happen, that they could like default and it could fall apart for them. And it's not looking as good as they used to think it was. I think AMC is worried. They don't have an opening date. They are one of the they're the theater chain that gets the most attention. They're the theater. Hold on, I'll get to you later. They're the theater chain that gets the most attention, but at the same time, I think they're the most vulnerable, but they're also the biggest. So we'll see what's happening with them. But they are worried that they could completely default. Hold on, we said, Jim, this is from Saber. Jim, you and the rest of the Pizza Party crew get into a Thunderdome Battle Royale. Who wins and how? What do you guys think? I think Pan would go right away. So then it'd be, I think Nolan might win because I think Nolan would be smart enough. But Izzy can fuck shit up too. Saber, why do you do this to me? Spo would win. See? You didn't see that coming. No, it'd probably be Nolan. Maybe be me. I do have like Goku-esque powers I don't talk about. But other than that, yeah, maybe it would be Izzy. Let's go with Nolan. Nolan can sit up here. Pan, you can go. You have enough attention. You can go here. Izzy. I think I would just slink away. Everyone says Jim wins. Well, thank you very much. Jim's got the most life experience. You know what's fun? It's between Izzy. You know what? Let's just put Jim and Izzy will be up here. We'll put Nolan here. Pan, you can continue to be over there. Nesca, yeah. Where it would be the robot guy who left the party. You mean Ken? I like that that's how you know him, Saber. Alright. Okay. Thank you very much, man. Cheers to you. This is a weird... Oh, yeah. Who does win in Well, it'd be Jax. Let's all be honest about that. I'm sorry, Saber and Paleo, who are probably heard that and went, what? Not cool, but let's be real. I know he's got glamour muscles, but I also know he could probably hit someone really hard. So I'm gonna go with Jax. No offense, it's the rest of POS. Or Tommy Oliver. I feel like he knows some shit. Anyway, John K. would... Alright, moving on to other movie news. Not John K. What is with this John K. thing? Alright, Jax would destroy us. Yeah. The UK is going to allow shooting to go on post-coronavirus. Among them that would be allowed to start shooting would be The Batman and The Witcher. We'll see how close and how quickly any of that happens. But it seems like... I also was listening to an interview with Jeffrey Wright, and he was talking about when that production shut down in March. We'll see what happens with that, but it seems like at least the UK is starting production. They'll probably be taking the lead that LA and other places will follow. There's a trailer for this movie, The Wish Dragon, which is kind of a combination of, I believe it's DreamWorks' not theater. Why did I say theater? DreamWorks. Well, I thought that Sony Pictures Animation and China's Base Animation. It actually looked pretty alright to me. I don't think it was amazing. I didn't see any date for America yet, but it we are seeing it does look like it's it does look like I don't know, it could be promising at least. I don't know if it like will turn out to be anything, but we'll see about that. My internet is being weird. Let me do something. Hold on. Oh, it looks like it's okay now. Sorry about that, everybody. Anyway, but Wish Dragon actually looks like pretty cool. Oh, did someone put Putney Swope? I just saw someone said Putney Swope in the video chat. That is a really good movie. I do not see the chat right now. I hope everything is okay. I don't know. We'll see. I was worried about the internet tonight, but should I talk about New Mutants? Should I not? Okay, there we go. I see people. So yeah, Wish Dragon looks promising. It doesn't look amazing or anything like that. I like that it's like the whole idea of a dragon kind of with a kid in modern society. I think things like that. We'll see about when it's going, who's going to release it. I could see it going to a streaming service, but it could be like a September animation release, or I don't know what release dates even mean anymore. But when they do mean something, this could be a September release or anything like that. All right, so next up, the director of New Mutants, Josh Boone, commented on Twitter and mentioned that first off, he was ultimately able to make the movie he wanted to make, but he mentions, believe it or not, that he wants to make a trilogy of New Mutants films. And this is the quote he said on Twitter. Ultimately, after all this time, I was able to make my New Mutants film, and I'm proud of it. What I'm hoping for now is that it will be successful enough so the studio will allow me to complete a trilogy. I've got all planned out. Now, here's the thing with this is a lot of people have actually, because this was like an official a Twitter thing to a magazine. So to me, it's like PR cleared for the most part. And almost everyone who said a source said, like, it seems like he does have a trilogy planned. A lot of, you kind of get into this argument with this, is whereas New Mutants is the end of the Fox X-Men line of movies, obviously Disney wants that to be over and end. But at the same point, could this exist outside of the MCU? Could they just put it into the MCU and have it be this, like, its own weird franchise thing? Since they did actually, like, Disney did let this guy make the film he wanted to make. Like, they did, like, let him have control of it again. We don't really know. It is kind of like a crazy thing that he had sequels planned. I mean, that's not too crazy, but it's crazy he's bringing it up at this point because some people are sort of laughing at him. As a New Mutants fan, I'm sort of wondering what that would be with the comic. Would that be Warlock would be involved in the second one? Would they be doing more with Danny Moonstar? Since I haven't seen the first one, I don't really know what direction they would go into. Would Legion be involved? But he probably wouldn't because they have that show. Would they want to do something with Cable at the end of it and have it become X-Force? Probably not. I mean, who knows what's going on with the X-Force thing in the Deadpool movies? They haven't even figured that out. So it's sort of an interesting thing because this is actually sort of a surprise. I mean, I wouldn't mind a second New Mutants. I kind of just want to see the first one. I don't even know if that will make its release date. I do actually think it'll have a 5th release date at some point, or just go to Hulu. But it seems like, to most people's understanding, there's probably a meeting with Feige and Alan Horn, and they said, hey, if this makes this threshold, we will let you make a sequel. But the age difference in these actors at this point, I mean, if you think, like, there's an age difference between when they shot it and now, and then you add on a couple of years to when they make the sequel. But, like, there's no way they're going to be age appropriate at this point. So I don't know. That is a whole other thing, like, how you work that around. Because they're just, like, getting too old. And people are already making jokes, like, are they going to be, like, grandparents by the time this film comes out? But they're a lot older than they were when they shot this thing, which I think was supposed to come out in, like, 2017 originally or something. So, yes, he does apparently, it seems, from most people's understanding, since this was official, he's at least talked to Marvel about doing a trilogy, and it seems like they are like, hey, if this makes a certain threshold, why not? I don't really think that's possible, but we'll see. Anyway, moving on from there, two things. The film Just Mercy, as well as the film Selma, which I will talk about later. Let's talk about all three of these, and then, okay. So the film Just Mercy is free to educate people about basically, like, systematic racism. I actually didn't hear great reviews for this film when it came out, but it stars Michael B. Jordan and Brie Larson. I believe it's the person who did Short Term 12, maybe? I didn't see it, so I didn't even look into it, but it is available for free, so if you wanted or had even a passing interest in Just Mercy, it's free, so you should. Another film that is free, and especially after what came out this week, the studio didn't support this movie enough, presumably, is, I don't know if it's the theater's fault, but whatever, the studio's fault, but it came out this week. Basically, Selma is available for free at a certain point. You should check out, they've had a lot of free screenings of Selma because they believe it is culturally important, which I agree with. And it's actually a good movie, I would say. I actually thought it was good. But Paramount is offering Selma for free rentals. But basically what happened with Selma this week, and you're like, Selma, a movie that came out almost, is it like 5 years ago or something? So if you followed what was going on with the Oscars and Selma at the time, most of the focus of why it didn't get more nominations was on Ava DuVernay and how they felt like how she was coming off, and it was sexist and racist. I mean, there's no way about it. Now, I will say, I think a lot of how the picture, like basically how the media framed her was sort of like this very like presumptive female director who like always, like, they never had pictures of her like, every picture was her like smirking and looking down at the camera, and I was like, I don't really have a problem with Ava DuVernay, but I do think the image of her and all these news stories wasn't like, I think what felt probably too confrontational compared to most directors. And I'm not saying like Scorsese or Spielberg wouldn't do a thing like that. So I think and she was in PR, I believe, before this, or publicity, so I think she probably recognized that, and I noticed like that stopped after that year, thank God, because I do like Ava DuVernay as a director. But that was what was going on then. But we found out later that David Aiello said that when they wore I Can't Breathe shirts, because of, I believe it was Eric Garner, to the premiere, a lot of Oscar voters called the studio, Paramount, and didn't like that they were stirring stuff up and wouldn't vote for Selma because of that. That was not known. I'd never heard of that. I remember them sort of doing that at the time. It wasn't the biggest story at the time to me, because a lot of places were doing that, and it seemed like kind of, no offense to them, I'm not trying to act like they were marketing a film, but it seemed, on brand, I guess. But I also thought it was a good sign of support as well. And apparently they felt that Oscar voters wouldn't vote for their film because of that. Now, I think if you're not going to vote for a film about Martin Luther King because they're standing up for something that clearly shouldn't have happened, you've got sort of other issues going on there. Mainly racism, but it's also, from the people who voted on Green Book being the best movie of the year, we present you the time we wouldn't vote on Selma, which I think is actually a really good movie. And one thing I will really say about Selma, which is really interesting, this is a true movie fact, Niji Kichu, if you want to beat me to this, but it's a true movie fact. No speeches in Selma are actual Martin Luther King speeches. The speeches of Martin Luther King are actually owned by DreamWorks. True story. I don't know if they still are, but I'm pretty sure they own all the rights to the speeches of Martin Luther King for a film project that they have never made. I keep hearing about it, but I don't even know what it is necessarily. But they couldn't use those speeches in a Paramount movie about Martin Luther King. So they had to write their own speeches for Martin Luther King, which are so good that I actually did not notice that they were not written by Martin Luther King. And I don't mean that because I'm a stupid white guy. I mean that because they were that well written. So, if anything, the writers of Selma did a really crazy job. Is it insane that anyone would own the rights to the speeches of Martin Luther King and those aren't in the public domain? Yes, that is fucking ridiculous. I do not know how that is a thing that anyone, like if someone was like, I was a super rich guy and so it was like, do you want to buy these? I'd be like, I want to make them available for everyone and like restore them, but I don't want to like keep them for myself for some weird ass crazy shit that like makes no sense whatsoever to make them not available for other adaptations of Martin Luther King's life. Like, what is the point? I just like, that is bizarre to me, but whatever. What happened with Selma and what we learned this week was wholly shocking and everything like that. I thought Green Book cured racism. Thank you, St. Powers. Anyway, sorry, I wanted to say that about Selma. Cheers to you. Yeah. So, other things. So, Kevin, we're seeing this a lot about a lot of different movies. Smaller movies are playing on in drive-ins. One, like The Vast of the Night, which I reviewed this past week, is playing in drive-ins. Smaller movies that basically can't really change their release date patterns. It's harder. And they're already on digital and are doing that anyway, or doing that. Becky, the Kevin James movie, is going to be playing at several drive-ins. I'm seeing that a lot this week, so yeah. Someone said, doesn't DreamWorks also in Green Book? How appropriate. Before I get to the CNN Sesame Street special, the Scorsese short that I talked about last week, someone finally edited it together and put it on YouTube instead of just a bunch of Twitter threads, which I don't really understand why they did that in the first place. I'm going to post it in the chat, so if you're watching this later, go to the chat now and you can watch the YouTube clip there. It's pretty good. It's, he shot it in his living room, but it's sort of interesting thing from Martin Scorsese. The CNN Sesame Street Town Hall special, originally this was supposed to come out last week. It wasn't going to be about racism. It was going to be about COVID. That one was kind of a sequel to a previous town hall they did a little bit ago. So I had seen that one with Sophie and we DVR'd it, and we were excited to watch this one. We were going to watch the COVID one. Jordan Bouchard, thank you very much for the super chat. I want to recommend Jib's review of Into the Wild. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it, and thank you for enjoying it. Cheers to you. This was sort of like the follow-up, but it's mainly about racism. I do like the special, and I did watch it with my daughter Sophie. We watched with my daughter Sophie. We were like all prepared to DVR and stuff. And the opening, which is the segment which I retweeted today, and most people have seen, of Elmo's dad and Elmo, and he's like explaining sort of racism and what's going on to him, was, I think, really great. And that's probably the highlight of the whole special for me. The rest of the special, and I think the problem with both this one and the COVID special, and I want to say I think they did a really good job with it. The problem is it's hard to hold kids' attention because the Sesame Street characters aren't on it as much to have like the human CNN people talk and then have experts come in. I really wish no Party Monster question this week in solidarity. Male Tears, you forgot you didn't vote in the movie review vote. You need to anyway. But no party monster. I noticed there wasn't a party monster question, but I like your solidarity. Cheers to you, Male Tears. I know there's a lot of support for Party Monster. Get on it next time, because you could have won or gotten closer. Anyway, Party Monster for the win. Cheers. And as Ryan's just saying, Gordon and Maria being there, I actually really liked. But my whole problem with these specials, and I do think they do a good job, and they explain stuff to my daughter, especially kind of like bigger themes and everything like that, is the idea, like kind of sitting there and explaining to her what's going on. It helped with the COVID situation. I thought it helped with this because, especially the beginning part, because she had been to a protest on Monday, and I thought that opening part kind of helped explain what was going on what was sort of going on with that when we went to it. And that was sort of, I will say the thing is, regardless of what someone's protesting for, and I tried to phrase this in the right way, but protests are super overwhelming for a little kid, and it's sort of hard to explain everything that's going on, especially that, that this is about police, and especially kids who've just been told police are, as much as they don't let her watch Paw Patrol, little kids do associate police with, like, they're good, they're the authority and stuff like that. But, I think that was a little scary for her, and things like that, especially, I don't think she knows about on our block people being hit. But the protest was fine, it was peaceful. We didn't I think it was like a half hour because she was getting tired. And it was overwhelming seeing everyone kneel at certain points and things like that. But I thought that opening did really a great job of sort of explaining it to her, and she had kept asking about the protests since being to it, and people holding up signs and Black Lives Matter and things like that. So I don't know if she fully gets all that, but I thought the special did a really great job. As a parent who took his kid to that, I thought it did a good job of that. I just wish during it they had, Chris from Sesame Street or Nina or people like that on the whole time, because it feels like at a certain point it's maybe a little more for me, and I wish like Sesame Street was more for her, and I thought like kids could really use more of that. That's kind of my main problem with both the town halls, to be honest with you, but I still think they're actually very good, and I just wish it was like Big Bird was there the whole time, or Elmo was there the whole time, or Abby, or like one of those characters. I just think there's a way to do that. But yeah. A couple people, I guess people are noticing about, I try to, I naturally, because of how I grew up and stuff, I don't know if I can fully endorse the police in front of her, but it's harder when you're 3 to fully explain that. But she doesn't get to, the whole thing, and I'll bring this up with Zane Power. I'm sorry this is getting kind of more serious, but I guess it's like this week or whatever. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. And we almost finished the Red Bulls. There we go. What do you think on Paw Patrol stance on all this? Well, okay. But I think with Paw Patrol, the reason she's not allowed to watch it, and I actually cut this out of the segment, is like when I grew up, I did see a lot of my friends like beaten up by cops and mistreated by cops and things like that. So the idea of promoting that to kids is not something I'm into. Now, granted, she is into kind of little girl shows like Sunny Day and Shimmer and Shine and things like that. But I think in general I do. But you're at preschool and you're talking to your friends and kids want to play police and things like that. She wanted to play detective today with her flashlight, but I think where she'd find our cats. My cat's in love. But I think it's something I definitely am not 100% comfortable with, like, promoting to her. So it's something I've been thinking about since she's born, basically, or starting to take in media. But I do not really show her stuff with police for a reason that's not a new thing. But I do think Paw Patrol, like I said in that, and I actually, like, by the way, I know I was like sort of joking, and I know people send me memes and stuff, but I am actually serious. I do think Paw Patrol is not good for kids, and I don't think kids should be watching something where it says police are ultimately good and have no flaws. And I don't think, and a lot of people have said, oh, that's why they became superheroes. I'm like, whatever, I don't care. I just don't think that stuff is appropriate for children. Kind of agreeing with stuff like that. So if you're going to do that, I just think, and I do think media matters to kids. Thus why, like, I let Sophie watch Ghibli and Muppets and like Spider-Verse, which I tell parents all the time, like, that shows diversity and things of that nature. So it's, anyway, I'm sorry we're talking about this so much tonight, but in a way, because I know people want to get, it's kind of hard to, because there's not much movie news, but defund Paw Patrol, fuck yeah. Can we get that to trend? Anyway, I just don't, I think that is something I try to make her more aspire to be, Sunny Day or run a cafe is the main thing she's interested in. So the reason, but I also think, like, I'm also the guy, I don't know if Saber's still watching this, who wrote a video with Saber about the evils of YouTube. So I'm very much like to show my daughter the best ways to take in media, and I think understanding from a young age and not exposing her to something like Paw Patrol, which I think is dangerous. And I really worry, I've wondered this for a while, the next generation usually does not have the same views of the previous generation. And if my generation now is protesting, going after Black Lives Matter, representing this thing and trying to educate themselves, would not the next generation then want to be the opposite, to be rebellious? That's a fear, and that's a real logical fear, and sometimes that takes very bizarre and crazy stances in the future. So anyway, this is like, man. Anyway, defund Paw Patrol. I like Paw Patrol. All right. Yeah, I don't know if a cop show is going to be on much longer. All right, so this is, by the way, my favorite news story. Because I don't know if it's real. I don't know if anyone asked Ari Aster to do this just to distract everyone. But Ari Aster said, this is true, he said his next movie is going to be a zonky nightmare comedy that's going to be 4 hours long. Ari Aster, I love you. Thank you for that. I don't know if you know Ari Aster, but he made Hereditary and Midsommar. And the fact that he thinks he's making... You know what, though? I was thinking about this 4-hour comedy thing. So you take his movies. If he were to make a 4-hour comedy, would that not be a horror film? Like, think of those terrible Judd Apatow movies. They're like 2.5 hours. What if that was 4 hours? Can you imagine... the horror, like the horror is what you are experiencing is the horror. Would I put that past Ari Aster? No, I think he could do it, and I think it would be amazing. I mean, it would be horrible. I wouldn't want to watch a 4-hour Judd Apatow film. I don't even really want to watch that Pete Davidson movie because, like, Jesus, like that whole anyway. But I just love that. Yeah. So this is a story that I thought I sort of covered last week, and I didn't put it in the time code things. Sorry, Buster's like, Buster, do you want to be on? He's like adamant about hanging out directly off camera. Let's talk about a diva. Man, Buster. I thought I talked about this last week, so the chat can tell me if I didn't, but there are a few more details, so I'll just go into it fully. It was in my script last week. I didn't go through to find it, but anyway. Ryan Gosling is making a okay. Let me do the story and I'll tell you what's in my script by accident, because clearly spell check. But Ryan Gosling is making a werewolf movie for Universal, or a Wolfman movie for Universal. This is not part of the Blumhouse Universal deal as of right now. Apparently it's going to cost more than like The Invisible Man, because making someone a Wolfman presumably costs some money or some shit. It is supposedly going to be directed by the Bad Education director, the recent HBO movie. I think basically with this, I did talk about it, but I think with this Ryan Gosling thing, it sounds like it's going to be a bigger, high-profile thing. I know Ryan Gosling has tried to do... He kind of can't do a big blockbuster thing. That's not his brand, but he wants to do one under his control. He thought about directing this, but chose not to do that. He chose not to do that this time. He chose to get the Bad Education director. There's no news on if this will be a Blumhouse thing or not. It doesn't seem like it will at this time, but yeah. Apparently Ridley Scott still wants to make another Alien prequel, and he wants to make them about the eggs and how that happened. I don't think Disney is going to let Ridley Scott keep making Alien prequels, but he's still talking about them, so good for him. All right. Okay. So Anncey is going to be doing some stuff. It's basically going to be online, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things that they are doing, which sounded kind of cool. This is kind of about two of the digital, what's happening with festivals during this whole thing. Wow, my voice. But I don't know what happened there. Ron Clements and John Musker are going to do a masterclass during it. There's going to be the Frozen 2 documentary premiere, which I think I will definitely let Sophie... I don't know if she'll be interested. That might be a little too grown up for her. I might watch it. I don't know. I'd be curious about that. A connected presentation with Lord Miller, a Dean Deblos masterclass as well, a Henry Selick masterclass, and which will also give updates on his Netflix movie with Jordan Peele, and a Chicken Run reunion. Does that mean Mel Gibson will be there? It didn't say, but let's just say there's a possibility. Anyway, moving on, the Cannes lineup. The Cannes lineup does include Soul and The French Dispatch. What's going on with Cannes is its premieres will be labeled such during other festivals. So if you go to, let's say, Toronto, and one of these films is premiering, it'll say, oh, this is a Cannes premiere at Toronto, which is stupid. Why do that? But cool. To me, it's like, that just hurts other festivals. I don't actually really get why the point of this, but like, cool Cannes Film Festival. It sounds very you. All right. Oh, we're sort of getting towards the end of the news stories because I knew this would be. I think this might be a shorter show, guys. Josh Trank has. I noticed Josh Trank keeps telling us about Fantastic Four. It's like, all right, dude, cool. Josh Trank has said that he should have left working on the Fantastic Four when they wouldn't let him cast a Black Sue Storm. I remember hearing that at the time, and thus why it wasn't it that she's adopted because the dad's black or something? You know what? Remembering the plot of that movie is not something I'm going to try to do or want to do. But Josh Trank says he should have quit at that point. I'm a little surprised he didn't, because it's also like a lot of people, I've heard people discuss this, and it seems like most people are saying like, well, I get like, well, you can't have a black actress for Sue Storm, because people did get so upset about Michael B. Jordan being Johnny Storm, but Michael B. Jordan's like great, like that was like the best casting of that whole fucking thing. I don't understand. Like, to me, that was like perfect. I don't know. I'm official Michael B. Jordan stan up in here. So like I thought he was a great choice. And I don't know why. I don't know who they would have if they had someone like a bigger name. But a lot of people said like if they did have a big name playing Sue Storm, it would have made sense to say, well, but we can get this big person. But was Kate Mara like really that big enough or that great of a casting choice that it was worth not doing that? Like, it just seems to me like kind of foolish that they didn't do that. But they didn't, and he regrets not leaving at that point. I regret him not leaving at that point too, to be honest with you. And then, yeah. But, you know, whatever. Bella Thorne has a movie called Infamous. It is also doing the drive-in digital thing. It actually doesn't look too bad of a film, to be honest with you. I saw someone post it in a Discord. I hadn't heard much about it, but I watched the trailer. It's basically like a Bonnie and Clyde social media thing where she starts robbing banks and posting on like Instagram and stuff, and like that's how she becomes an influencer. It's not a bad concept. I don't know if I'd actually see it, but we'll see. Would a Josh Trank cut of Fantastic Four be good? Probably not, but I think he thinks that. But thank you for the super chat, St. Paris. Cheers to you. I think that, we're killing a Red Bull. There we go. All right. So, yes, where were we? All right. So there seems to be, I think we have three stories, and then I'll take a quick break, and then Escalation review. All right. So there's like, I just wanted to clear up two things that I keep seeing in all the movie newsverse, and they're not real stories because they're just not. One was that King Kong vs. Godzilla is PG-13. Of course it would be. It's like $200 million. They're not going to rate that thing R. I know you're like, I want a real bloody King Kong vs. Godzilla. Cool. That's not how movies are marketed. That's, you need to sell toys to little kids. There needs to be a, McDonald's tie-in. That's not going to be rated R. Grow up. I don't understand why you think that, but that's the thing. People are going, I'm a man. I want a bloody one because, like Linkara said, I'm a man. Like, just, ugh. Obviously it was going to be PG-13. That was stupid. The other thing is Henry Cavill being Superman. Again, is that leading to a J.J. Abrams Superman with Henry Cavill? There's been no news on J.J. Abrams doing Superman. Obviously, that's very presumptive, and because of his deal with Warner Media, I understand why people think that they would want him to do Superman. But there's been literally no hard-hitting sources that are, like, real about that story. So anyone who's making a video about J.J. Abrams doing a Superman movie is full of fucking shit. and it is totally them coming out of their ass. That is not a real story. It is yet to be a real story. Does it make a lot of sense? Absolutely. Will it most likely happen? Like, possibly. I know he wrote a script for Superman. It's fine, but it is just, like, everyone please stop. Like, it is just, I get that there's no news to talk about. Clearly this week we've learned this, but don't make up stories. It's not cool. It's, logistically, I get it could happen, and it's highly possible. And hearing that news about Henry Cavill last week, but it was for cameos. There's nothing in that press release that you can read into. Like, just have something more. But I get that, like, clearly they'd want him to do a big property with J.J. Abrams. Clearly that makes the most sense, and he's writ flyby, but everyone stop. I could have died today. By the way, I don't think Henry Cavill's a bad actor. Like, the Mission Impossible movie, I thought, proved that. But, alright, so, it came out this week that the director of Atlantis, Buster, you're just, like, hanging out? What's going on? Do you want to be on? I think people would like you to be on. Jim's got this covered. Sorry, I got so mad at Superman. The Cut Short video. Man, I miss Cut Short or Cum Shot. What happened to that guy? So the Atlantis sequel, basically the director, this is basically said, because there is that sequel, that direct-to-video thing that was just like 2 episodes of the TV series that never happened and so forth, but this is what they're planning that never got anywhere. So, Buster refuses. Buster's just being the diva of this episode. I'm going to pick him up on my way back. If he doesn't want to, I don't really want to force him, but it's just ridiculous. He just keeps... Anyway, so the Atlantis sequel, this is what the director said. I'm going to quote him here. We were going to have a new villain in the story. The villain was going to be wearing a big, scary, bulky World War I style clothing with a frightening gas mask to obscure its face, a little Darth Vader-esque. And this villain was going to try and retake Atlantis and finish the job that Rourke was unable to accomplish. And the big twist and the climax of the movie is the villain is unmasked and turns out to be Helga Sinclair. Plot twist. So Helga survived her fall. She was Rourke's assistant lady or something. Survived her fall, became an early 20th century cyborg, and started her own team of mercenaries. So yeah, that actually sounds kind of cool. I wish I liked the movie. I forgot what exactly I said about it in my review of it, but I remember liking the movie, and it's sort of interesting that there was this was the idea of the Atlantis sequel that never happened. Instead of apparently it was 3 episodes. I thought it was 2. I never saw that, but I never saw the sort of sequel. But that's apparently what their plan was to. It seems like they're going to continue doing more interesting stuff in Atlantis and stuff like that. So yeah. All right. So this is the last news story. I was told. So when I put out a suggestion this week, I said, "Are there other stories you want me to talk about?" It seems there's some confusion about, like, people were like, "Could you review like a big series or something?" I'm not going to do that on the stream. I want to keep that on a series, but I meant more of a news story. But someone actually did deliver. That was Cartoon Freak, who I think I've seen in the chat tonight, and asked me about Major Glum, which I guess there was a trailer came out. Now this is a Russian superhero. I'm going to post this story in here. Major Glum, the Plague Doctor, which clearly didn't age well because here, let me post this in the chat so you can look at the Deadline story, which has the video in a weird player or whatever. But he's a Russian superhero, and he has like a plague type face, and it's like a Batman-esque thing. If this was on a streaming service, I would definitely check it out. I'm going to tell you that right now. It looks ridiculous. I don't speak no Russian, so I don't know what anybody was saying in this, but they did, I don't know. It's interesting. I'll tell you that. It's interesting. Oh, here we go. Fun fact, whenever there's a live-action Superman movie, there's always an argument between costume director and director on how big... Yeah. Yep. Cheers to you, Nijikichi. Alright, so I'm learning that the Plague Doctor is the villain. Again, don't speak Russian, but It looked kind of cool. So thank you, Cartoon Freak, for telling me about it. I guess Major Glum is the superhero, and the Plague Doctor is the villain. Yeah, Major Glum's the superhero. Anyway, it looked actually kind of cool as like a weird offbeat superhero thing. I hope a streaming service picks it up. I would definitely watch it. The Office documentary, was that on today and I missed it? Quit Russian. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Nice, Ryan. Nice. Well, I didn't read. I guess I didn't turn on my subtitles. What Office documentary? Did I miss that? I probably missed it in the thing, and I shouldn't probably. I'm gonna see if I can find it, even though I shouldn't. I said I wouldn't do that anymore. I don't see that in here. Anyway, but I don't know about an Office documentary, so I am sorry. I mean, I feel like there's like too much on The Office as there is anyway. Although I like that. Anyway, so I am going to use the bathroom real quick. Then we will review Escalation, and then Riding Hood Redux Riding Hood, and then do Hulu recommendations and so forth. So anyway, I will be back in a second. Thank you all, by the way, for joining me. Hi, Ransan Film, and yeah, I'll be right back. All right, cool. Yeah. Whoa. Hello. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone is doing okay. Lightning Whiz. I guess I go. No, Buster hid. Unfortunately, I thought I could get him and he ran out. So I like that it gets all blurry. It's kind of interesting that it does that. But anywho, let me take a little swig of this Red Bull. I know it's not. Anyway, oh, hey, Will, cool. Cats are an enigma. Oh, Kaneki Blu-ray release for my movie If Trauma Fails. Oh, that's cool. Cheers to you, man. I'm glad you're getting a release. Cool. That's cool. Could you start the segment by saying, hey, what's up, it's Jim? I will start Escalation review like that if you'd like. I can do it that way. Let's put this Red Bull here. Anyway. So, let's get to it. Thank you very much for the super chat, Ransom Film. That's nice of you. All right, so Escalation. I'll do it. Okay. Just for this one. All right. Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about Escalation. Now, Escalation is a short film. It's about 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30 seconds. It is directed and pretty much made. He's the only credited person in it on IMDb on most places. Is Ward Kimball. Now, who is Ward Kimball? He is one of the 9 old men. The team of Disney animators. He worked on all the classic Disney films: Dumbo, Snow White, Pinocchio. I think Cinderella. All that sort of stuff. He's one of the probably most talented animators there ever was, if you ask most people. And most of those guys didn't really make a lot of short films outside of the Disney studio. And most of them didn't really make political comments outside of the Disney studio. But Ward Kimball was not one of those guys. And he made Escalation. Now, what was Escalation, basically? He made what it was is you just see it says Escalation, you get a countdown, and then a kind of head of LBJ comes out. And at first, it looks like, while it's playing Lori, is it Lori, Hallelujah? Well, anyway, it's playing a song, and you see his nose kind of like, basically like he's Pinocchio telling a lie. And at first you're like, okay, because he's lying because of Vietnam War. I get it. That's, he's lying. Vietnam's bad. And then, noticeably, this big nose starts to become like a dick. And starts to get like erect, basically, and move up. And then you're sort of like, wait a minute. What's going on here? And then it explodes, and you see all these like pictures of women's breasts, of like sexy ladies, of like TV dinners, of American pop culture and everything like that, and like coming at you very quickly. And then you see things of Americana and things like that. This is basically Ward Kimball's big statement on LBJ and the Vietnam War. Now, unlike, I think this kind of does a similar thing to what I talked about in the previous film. It was Battle Hymn of the Republic. I'm sorry, that played on there. But basically, much like the Mickey Mouse in Vietnam, this is to show kind of the evils of Vietnam. I think that was to show the innocence of it. This is more to show the corruption and the ideal of like basically really wanting to uphold the kind of American economy and American ideals over the good of the people, which I actually kind of wanted to pick this one for this now because I thought, one, it's a protest animated short, but it's also one that talks about like the faults of America in general and the idea that the president would more upheld America despite it not being in its actual best interest, it being in the best interest of kind of the 1% and keeping like the military industrial complex going and like the American economy and kind of the ideals of America or the kind of image of America going rather than what the ideals of America necessarily represent. And so, or the imagined ideals of America, depending on your thinking. Now, Ward Kimball wanted this film to be much more of a hit and much more of a mainstream hit than it actually was. When I read that, at first I was like, yeah, this should have been a bigger thing. And then I rewatched it and go, wait, this is a film where LBJ has a dick nose. You thought Dick Nose movie was going to be a big thing? I don't know, man. But it did play at several film festivals. He was able to play it around. Apparently, I didn't read any clapback from Disney on it. But it is interesting that this happened, particularly from Ward Kimball, who was one of the 9 old men, who you wouldn't expect that for. And if you read anything about Disney and, if you read anything about Hollywood and that generation, they weren't exactly like anti-Vietnam. Like they were more like very few of them were. So it's actually very surprising that this comes from someone of his generation. And it reminds me of, I saw like King Vidor short, which I kind of like reviewing like shorts on here. Sometimes I might do a review of that, which is sort of a weirder short. And when you see these kind of older directors and they want to go into kind of the more surreal shorts that were going on at the time, which were being played before movies and so forth, they would kind of have fun with that. And you could see that with Ward Kimball in this, which I actually really like. I recommend Escalation. It is considered kind of a surprising part of his filmography. And it's probably the only time someone who actually drew Pinocchio then drew an animated short with a Pinocchio dick nose joke, which, I think that's something you probably didn't know you needed, and now you have. But it also, I think, is maybe probably, I'd say it's a lot you can see he's like a much more talented animator than what they're doing in Mickey Mouse in Vietnam. That's not to discredit or throw that film under the bus, but I also say, that's true. Actually, Mandela Butterfly brings up a good point that he did have a point. He was also making World War II propaganda, and then he makes an a protest film against Vietnam is actually an interesting twist. I didn't really think about that. That's a good point. Thank you for that, Mandela Butterfly, in the chat. I do think this is an important thing, but it is interesting seeing these guys who were kind of always controlled under a system, and there are these rigid rules kind of get let loose in their later years. And it reminds me of that King Vidor short, which its name escapes me. I'm sorry, I should have looked that up. And I was thinking about that today, especially when watching it, because you can tell he had greater things and more questions about the society that he was part of Disney, very much a part of American society and that capitalistic ideal, and the idea that he wants to criticize it in such a way, and its idea being held up in such a way that he's so critical of it is sort of interesting, particularly since that is so against what most of his generation in Hollywood was at the time. Escalation is a great kind of protest short, and I would definitely recommend it. You should check out Escalation from Ward Kimball today, and the link will be in the description of this video. When this is a segment. See, I'm going to cut this part out. But anyway. We have Will sent me a super chat. Would you consider doing short recommendations for movie crap? Because I'd pick both Mark Osborne's first shorts, More and Greener, incredible work. I will look into that. I could probably do that. I'll add that to the list. I'll at least check it out. But thank you very much, Will. Cheers to you. I'm actually always into suggestions. I do, I can say no, but I would like to. If you have an idea, let me know. I don't like someone added me on Twitter and added me with the creator of the Kingdom Hearts pilot, and I sort of didn't like that. So don't at me with the creator of something. Just ask me myself, and I can tell you. I don't like being put on the spot like that. But anyway, cheers to you, Will. So the next thing, I think you probably noticed. So this past week, I made the Every Disney Animated Show Ever. This was obviously with Ryan Walterson, and he's the one who's told me about this. I didn't know about it. It's called Redux Riding Hood. And it's actually sort of a forgotten piece of animation history, which I'm really surprised I didn't know about. And Ryan's the one who told me about it, but it's actually made by Disney's Disney Television Animation, with a bit of movie tunes, basically, but it's mainly done by. It's credited to Movie Tunes wasn't credited, but Disney Television Animation was credited. And what is Redux Riding Hood? Basically, what it is a 15-minute short, and it was supposed to be a series, but this was the only one made of totally twisted fairy tales, and it was supposed to reinvent fairy tales for kind of a different sort of with an offbeat adult oriented kind of comedic slant, and it was going to be done, all of them, and this was in 1997. What's interesting about this kind of offbeat thing, and this idea of fairy tales being sort of different and weirder, is something like, this was 97, this was several years before Shrek was a movie and a phenomenon and all that stuff, which it was in 2001, despite the fact that we always make fun of it. But this was several years before that, and it was to kind of give animators who were interested in doing things that were not, just kind of kid stuff. They wanted to have more animated talent, basically, but they couldn't get that because they don't have, non-kid oriented stuff. They wanted more, and they thought this would be a good way to actually do that. So they had this writer, Dan O'Shannon, who at the time was more known for Cheers and Newhart, and they put him with animation producer and director Steve Moore, and they made this Redux Riding Hood. Now this has actually a really great cast. The narrator is Garrison Keillor, and then who I guess two of these people have been canceled. The wolf is Michael Richards, who's obviously a bigger deal at the time, and they have various voices from. Well, I should actually introduce the plot. Let me do that. So basically, what this is, it's about Little Red Riding Hood, and it's about Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf always failed to get Little Red Riding Hood, and it always bugged him, so he makes a time machine to go back in time and correct it, but there's always something that stops him from doing that. There's always some complication, and he keeps adding on adding on wolves to this. So first there's 2 wolves, then there's 3, then there's 4, and so forth. And he tells his wife before he goes back in time how much this bugs him, and she's, sympathetic, but knows he's getting a little crazy with it. So he then goes uses this time machine, keeps mass producing basically wolves, and they keep constantly failing. There's always some complication they didn't think of, and the sheep, who's his wife Doris, eventually gets sick of this, and goes back in time and remembers like this guy she could have married, who was Leonard Fox, he was much more successful than her failed wolf husband. But it is kind of this interesting like time travel bent on the Riding Hood thing. My daughter and I watched a Superhero Girls with Batgirl and a Burrito kind of similar plot of this, but it is it's not adult in like, it's just a little like offbeat and weirder than you'd expect from a fairy tale kind of thing. But yeah, the wolf was voiced by Michael Richards. The Doris, his wife, is played by Mia Farrow. The narrator is Garrison Keillor. Little Red Riding Hood is Lacey Chabert. June Foray is in this as Grandma. The woodsman who comes in at certain points is actually voiced by Fabio. I wouldn't have known that. I just thought it was a Fabio sound-alike, but I guess you got the best Fabio sound-alike. You have Don Rickles has the point as the boss when he yells at him. Jim Cummings is in a part, and then Adam West is Leonard Fox, and he does a great job. This was actually nominated for Best Animated Short in 1997. It didn't win, and it was actually pretty successful. It got they thought it would open up Disney to different writers at the time, and it seemed like this Redux series, they're going to make more of them. They're talking about doing one for Jack and the Beanstalk and Three Little Pigs, and they're thinking about doing 4 in total. I haven't read what the 4th one would be. They said it wasn't fully fleshed out or announced, but the reason why you're probably like, what happened to this thing? Disney, even though it got an Oscar nomination, even though this came out and was sort of different and, kind of made people think, oh, maybe Disney is open to being doing different things. And that, by the way, is the most surprising thing about this short and this story, is that Disney, with this Redux Riding Hood short, has always said they're going to do adult-oriented stuff like Black Cauldron, for example, and they always like mess it up or something, and they never actually do it. And here's a thing that was successful, did well. They could really like do something different with this, and it could be a short. And I didn't even know about this in the 90s, so it didn't really play that many places. So clearly they could have done it and just like released it on HBO or just like something like that. But then they basically just shelved this in '98 and shelved the entire project. And Dan O'Shannon, who helped write this, went on to write for Modern Family for a bunch of seasons. And then the director, who was actually the person who would have picked up the Oscar, Steve Moore, now directs... he also directed Olive the Other Reindeer, but now directs Shimmer and Shine, which is something my daughter watches. So I'm probably more familiar with his work than I realized before this. But I really am sad that Redux Riding Hood didn't become more of a thing, because although I don't think it's a great short, it's like kind of funny. It's more just like, this is so weird that this happened and was successful as it was. But because it seems so different from Disney, it doesn't even really feel like Disney television animation to a certain degree. But I am really kind of fascinated by the fact that Disney at one point actually got close to... at one point they got close to doing something like this, but the only way you can see this is on YouTube. It is not on Disney Plus. Disney's never released this since the theatrical release of this to get like basically so it could get a nomination and everything like that. But it's just like disappointing, because they had a different kind of thing. They had Dan O'Shannon, who was a comedy sitcom writer. They had like they could have just written it off or something like that, a different, interesting animated thing. I'm really curious what the meeting was like when they shelved this whole project, and they could have had like kind of an offbeat adult animated short series that just like got them nominations and got them, screenwriters to get into the Disney fold and do something different. But this was also the time of like the Sweatbox. Like, they were not promoting creatives at that time. They were not promoting directors and writers and things like that. They were halting that creativity. So it sort of makes sense that they would want to stop it, but it's crazy that this like happened and then got screwed up in the end. So I think this is more of a cool possibility than it is that good of a short. It's kind of like a fun, cool idea, but it's not, as groundbreaking or something like that. It's just like, it was a couple of years before Shrek happened when they try to like mess with the fairy tale idea, and it's kind of interesting that they were already sort of doing something not completely similar, but in the same sort of vein, and that it just didn't actually get to become much more than that. It seems like Disney was kind of sitting on something that could have had a lot more potential. I never got to fully realize it because of their own kind of weird brandness, on brand kind of bullshit that sort of ruined the Redux series from being anything more than this one Oscar nominated short. Okay. The short is called Redux Riding Hood. If you go to my Twitter, it's linked there. This will be linked in the description of this Movie Crap Live and then the segment later when it's released. Anyway, but it is only on YouTube. All right, so normally I want to say I'm going to do a Hulu recommendation part and then we'll do questions. Sorry I have so many segments this time. But I guess we are still kind of going our normal length. But I didn't get to have a YouTuber help me this time because this week was crazy and I kind of lost track of time. I didn't get to ask anyone, so that's on me, and I didn't want to ask anyone like Friday night. I thought that wasn't fair, so it wasn't anything personal or anything like that. I just didn't get to. One thing I will say about Hulu, I don't like the on Roku at least, I don't like the how it's run or laid out. I think it's pretty horrible. I also don't like, I noticed, because I actually, for once, I didn't just go to Hulu. I looked at one of those articles that are like, cool stuff to watch on Hulu, and just went through it. And I noticed the problem with those articles, and what I don't do, and this isn't to be like, Jim's so great and these other people suck, is that they will say, these are things to watch this month on Hulu, but then they'll have dates, and some things in the article won't come out till the end of the month. So it's like, that article is coming out at the beginning of the month, and it's like, are you going to remember that? So these are all things that are on Hulu at the time I made this video. I do think Hulu's alright. It's not a service I use a lot. My wife and I watched Normal People, which is pretty good. If you want to watch that on this, I recommend it. But let me get through the main movies. Solar Opposites is on there, and I do want to watch that. I was actually going to watch Luke Cage, which I haven't watched because of Drake's video, which is not on Hulu. But that's going to be my, while I make the time codes, viewing tonight. Anyway, here are cool things to watch on Hulu. Two of these are sort of obvious, the first two. One is Parasite. That is exclusively on Hulu. You should definitely see Parasite if you haven't. It's great. Does anyone remember when that won Best Picture? We thought this year was going to be cool. Portrait of a Lady on Fire is another great film that is on Hulu. Probably one of the great romance films of the last 10 years. I would say definitely check that out. In other films, they have Robin Hood Men in Tights. I haven't seen that in a while. I hope it is not culturally totally insensitive, but I remember it being okay. They also have Bumblebee, the great Transformers movie, probably the best live-action Transformers movie. Nobody needs to at me because it's the truth. They have Risky Business, Tom Cruise's kind of breakout as a star. It's kind of a little more moody than people expect for a teen movie, and actually pretty cool. Heathers, which is the great cult film. If you haven't seen Heathers, I know it's maybe a little more culturally insensitive because of suicide, but I still really like Heathers. Don't care. And you should check out my review. All the reviews of these will be linked in the description of this when it's a segment. Coherence, which is, I think, one of the best movies of the 2010s. It's really great. It's actually, if you don't know my thing with Coherence, Coherence is basically about these people who are in a house, and while a comet is going overhead, they're like having like a dinner party. They realize when they leave the house, it opens up to other dimensions and other versions of themselves. And they kind of like, they basically shot it like all improvised, but it's these people, like when they leave the house, all these other different dimensions have opened up to them, and then they sort of like go back and forth between dimensions, and you kind of see, in some, like, they already exist, and some, that person is left, and some, they're a horrible person, they have this haircut, all this sort of stuff. So it's a great kind of cool kind of Twilight Zone idea of that when this comet's going overhead, like all these different dimensions open up, and you might not end up in the dimension that you used to be in, and it's really, really cool. I would say check that out. We Need to Talk About Kevin is also on Hulu, which is a great Lynn Ramsey film, as well as The Pawnbroker, which is a great older film, which you definitely check out. I would also say The Furies. This is a Sam Fuller film. It's with Barbara Stanwyck. I haven't seen it in a little bit, but it's a great old Western. In other films, in other things, we have Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. It is the best Star Trek movie. It's amazing. Even if you don't like Star Trek, Wrath of Khan is one of the best sci-fi films of the 80s. Speaking of I don't know. Speaking of him, I don't know where I was going with that. But if Beale Street Could Talk, it's Barry Jenkins' follow-up to Moonlight. Not enough people talked about it. I love Barry Jenkins. I think he's one of the best directors going right now. We should see. You should see if Beale Street Could Talk if you could. They also have, and this I kind of stumbled on, Jumanji the Animated Series, which was a thing. If you ever wanted to see that, it's there, as well as Brickleberry. I don't need to say anything. It's just Brickleberry. And then Chicken Run, as well as The Road to El Dorado. So those are my recommendations for Hulu. If you need something to watch, it seems like they have a lot of good content. They're not that, as well as Normal People, the show I think is a good kind of like romance between college. It's like high school, college, and then out of college. No, it's high school and college. Anyway, it's a very good kind of romance film series, I would say. Check that out. Okay, Black Sea Ox and Winkle, it was nice having you here. Thank you for being here. Really, Jim? Really? All right. Yeah. All right. So that's it for the Hulu recommendations. I do not have a Patreon. I do not have any Patreon questions. So as soon as someone wants to post questions in the chat, we'll maybe do this for like 15 minutes, and then that'll be it, I think, for tonight. Yeah. This has gone pretty long. I hope it went okay. Yeah, it's been, I don't know. All right, so let's get to the question. The questions. First one is from, wait, was it from Will? No, it's from Jonathan Marks Gamer. Thoughts on Minneapolis Mary getting shafted because she will not get rid of all the Cobbs? I'm assuming she meant Cobbs. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think, I don't know. The thing about the cops thing is, like, I don't know if you could completely get rid of them because you do need sort of a police force to a certain degree, but they are most of them are completely overfunded. So I think that's a larger conversation, really. But I think, probably, to my understanding, how the Minneapolis mayor hasn't handled it really that great, but I'm not 100% familiar with that situation. I wasn't really recommending Brickleberry. I just thought it was funny and I found it. Rand Sam Film said, question regarding my super chat, would a Konjaki Blu-ray release be as good as a possible Trauma theatrical release, Blu-ray, DVD, and Trauma now their streaming service release? I think it would be, but I don't know as much about that, but we can talk about that at another time, but I'll look into it for you. But to me, getting a release on an official thing, I think would still be a cool thing for you, Rand Sam Film. So good luck, man. Question, Jim Gamer Test. Can you name all 4 of the ghosts in the original Pac-Man? They had names? I didn't know that, so yeah. A question. What's this COVID stuff I've been hearing about? Yeah, I know. People seem to forget about that. Jim, can you say hi to my friend Maya? Hi, Maya. How you doing? Is it Mia? Maya? I hope it's Maya. Hi, Maya. It's Jim. How are you today? I hope you're doing well. All right. PowerPoint is my passion. How do you think the current BLM protests will affect portrayal of law enforcement in film / TV and the crime genre as a Who IG Brooklyn 9, as in Brooklyn Nine-Nine? I do think it's going to change because I saw when people with Spider-Verse 2 were posting, because I think that got delayed or something, that people were saying they don't want his dad to be a cop anymore. I don't agree with there should be no portrayals of them, but I do think that should be probably reframed, and I can't imagine launching a cop show in this climate or a movie or something of that nature, but I do think you should talk about it to a certain degree, particularly in this world now, what that's like. But I do think that will change, and I think how they're portrayed will change, and our idea of them as maybe just like kind of these perfect people protecting us is absolutely just completely fallen apart. So I think it'll probably be more of like, you'll see more of the thing. I predict, this is my Jim's prediction, I guess, you'll probably, if it's someone in a movie or show, they will be the good cop and there's a lot of bad cops around them. You'll see something like that's going to happen in the next couple of years. So basically someone's going to remake Serpico, but, you know, whatever. Have you ever played Minecraft? From Lauren Jones. I have not played Minecraft. I only know it from the kids who played at the library when I used to take Sophie there. God damn it. Fucking COVID. Why is the Curse of Were-Rabbit from Austin? Why is Curse of Were-Rabbit better than Chicken Run? I think Chicken Run is better than Curse of Were-Rabbit, so I disagree. From Austin. Thank you for being here, Black Sea Axel McCall. Major Mekazawa, what are some shows that you feel are better experienced by binging them, and what are some shows that you feel are better experienced by spacing out viewings between episodes? I actually think like Community and The Office are good binge shows. I think some need to be spaced out, like Midnight Gospel. That is not a binge show. I think that's like you watch one a night, and that's how I did it. So I don't think anyone would really, it's not every show is bingeable, and it seems like even like Mystery Science Theater, I don't think I've ever watched 2 in a row. Maybe once or twice in my life. Like one is enough, really. So I think like I know Netflix isn't as into those shows, but it's like not every show is going to be the same, and I wouldn't want every show on Netflix to just be these bingeable things. I like the difference of content. I think that's actually more healthy because you can have a show I'll just watch one today, but then I can watch 20 of these or something. Like Shears, I could watch like a couple of those in a row or something like that. Question, how old would Sophie have to be before you'd allow her to watch Watership Down? From Not Plausible. Watership Down is not like a favorite of mine, but if she wanted to watch it, I would think she would be at least 14 or something like that. I don't know. That's those oh god, when they're in the tunnel and they're all dying, no, she's not. Oh man, I lost where I was. Let's see. Oh, there's a lot of these. I hope I get to all these. Let's see. Oh, I missed a bunch. I'm sorry about that. Who would win in a rap battle, J Dark or MC Scatcat from Nathaniel Fogo? Probably MC Scatcat, but I think J Dark's got it. Heebs Boy, thoughts on Ralph Bakshi's Coonskin? I've actually never seen it, so I kind of worry about doing that one particularly right now, but I haven't seen it, so I can't say. But I think like just putting out something called Coonskin, I don't know. Jordan Slofo, have you reviewed the Reese Witherspoon movie Election? No, I haven't, but I should at some point. Major Mekazawa, what are some of your fondest memories you've had with HBO? I've only had HBO since I've been an adult, so I would say I don't have that many fond ones, but I like that when 80s All Over had that HBO theme song. That's probably the best thing I'd say. Not Plausible. Should you review the Linkara movies? I know how big a fan of you are of his. He's only done one, right? I did it. I did review. Has he done another one? Maybe I should review that at some point. I don't know. Maybe I'll look it up. Jordan Bouchard, question, are Jim's Movie Crap Live comment sections the new AOL 2020 chat room? Maybe. That's funny. The Westerner, I've never seen an episode of Cleanest the Fiendest. Where should I start? Episode 1. Actually, seriously, The Westerner. Jordan Sloflo, do you feel all streets aren't like Sesame Street? Sadly, yes, they aren't. Always Sleepy, have you heard of Greg the Bunny on Fox? It's a really underrated show. I did, and I watched it a little bit, but not too much. Let me go back up to make sure I got everything. Oh, I didn't miss stuff. Did I? No, I think... Not a movie question from Ace the Wind Writer, but how are you explaining and talking to Sue about everything happening? How much do you tell her and what you keep for? I feel like I covered this, but I just try to be honest, try to explain to her. I kind of you can't go into too many of those specific things, but you can talk about what's right and wrong and what's going on, and basically similar to what Sesame Street did. I'm tired, so I don't know. Emblety question, thoughts on Traffic, Safe, and Ad Astra? I've only seen Traffic and I remember it being good. Is there a stereotype that you do embody? Probably boring white guy from St. Virus. Question, favorite episode of Cleveland Show from Black Saxonal? Never saw it. Cornbread, is Fruit Strike gum the worst gum? I sort of like it sometimes, but it's not great. Bruce Parker, how would you respond to people online who feel compelled to compare riots to Joker, Watchmen, The Dark Knight Rises? I would say they're very lame. Zane Powers, were we born to die? In a certain respect. Oh, okay. I guess that was... Ransen Film put his thing twice or something, I guess. Is that what happened? I'm very... Oh, I guess he did. Okay, so that's why I was confused. Alright, favorite kind of fries from Nathaniel Fogo. I actually do like Burger King fries sometimes, but McDonald's fries, I guess, is the best. Not plausible. Physical or digital media. I don't like digital media because you're basically letting another company control what you watch, and I sort of like the idea that you could just buy it and then it's yours and you can control what you watch. I like that more. What is going on with this whole okay, well, I mean, I think we just explained to... I mean, we took her to a protest. We explained her what's going on to the cops and they're not treating people fairly. COVID, we just called the bad cold, and we don't get into too many specifics, but you make sure she's aware of them. And I also want to make sure she has memories of them, which is kind of why I went to the protest with her, and even make sure there was a picture so she could look back and go, oh, I was there. And I don't know how much she'll remember that because she's little, but at least we're making sort of a... setting those things up, you know what I mean? So I think that's the important thing, is like giving her some frame of reference, but you can't go into the full statistics of that and everything like that. So do you think culture will always have pause being down with superhero vigilante characters following this point in history, or do you think it will be unaffected by this? I think it will be affected, but we're going to see a few years because it takes so long with production and so forth. So I don't think you'll see it for another couple of years, basically. From Bruce Parker. Zane Powers' question, what's the thing that's easy for people to nitpick in movies that really bugs you? I think the plot hole thing a lot, because it's just like, I don't think it's as big of a deal as most people think it is. Just like simple stuff where they're like, well, like, why would you do that? Like, that's so stupid. I'm like, do you want to watch the movie where they don't go in the haunted house? I don't want to watch that movie. Like, just like suspension of disbelief stuff actually sort of bugs me. Question, what was your first celebrity crush? Maybe Jennifer Love Hewitt? Yeah, let's go with that. Austin Powers, what are other good ways to protest while staying safe during this pandemic? I would actually say giving money, art, doing art stuff, making sure you're using your social media voice to effectively educate people, educating yourself. Like, doing that would be really good. But I would say using social media, doing art, giving money, volunteering some stuff, or saying like, hey, I have this, let's say you have a bunch of water bottles you aren't using that are, not bad or nothing, and you can just drive them to a location and say, here you go, I'm worried about the pandemic, but I wanted to help. That is a way to help. That's another way to help. Thoughts on the show Cops? I'm assuming you mean the animated show, and that theme song is awesome. Let's see. Favorite type of police movie is exposing the crowd, like, on the job. That's true. The Wire is really good. Are you a werewolf? No. Although there's that werewolf short of me. You should check it out. Werewolf in New York. Where are we? I think Jennifer Love Hewitt was in Garfield. Where are we? You got to ask yourself, do I feel lucky? Do you? Let's do one more and then I think that's it. Alright. Question. Favorite streaming service as of now? It's probably Netflix. Is Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, more like a real movie? What? No, I don't. Maybe? I don't understand. Anyway, I'm tired, I think. Question from Zane Powers. With how bad HBO Max has been, do you think Disney Plus has improved since you first talked about it? No, but I think looking at the grading curve, I think Disney Plus did a much better job, to be honest with you. I think though, I think HBO Max is a little better organized than Disney Plus. So HBO Max has some pluses. They just need to get their shit together. All right. So I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it. All right. So check out. I didn't do too many videos this week because it was weird to figure out when to post videos and the Charlie Brown thing. But I will be. But check out the HBO Max review. My review of The Vast of Night. My segments of. Was that it? Anyway, all the things I made this week. All of them. It's The Vast of Night, Kevin James. Oh, every Disney show ever. God damn. Man, this has been a week. Every Disney animated show ever as well. Check out that. That was a crazy long video to work on. I can't believe I just forgot it. So it's my video for Spyscape on Rami Malek and the video I helped write for Saber Sparks. So check that out. Anyway, this is actually a Pride shirt. It's of a cat. So, can you see that even? Can you see it? It's a cat, and it's got the flag. There we go. Anyway, all right. You saw my shirt. I think that's it. I think we're done here. I think we done good, as Oh the Anthem says. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight. I know it's been crazy times, but I'm glad we all got to have a good time tonight. I hope you all stay safe and do what you can, and check out some good movies. And I will be back next weekend. All right. See you then, and thank you very much for being here. And subscribe if you would like to. Would you? I don't know. Is it going to end? Yeah. Okay, that's it. See ya.